Hi there, Speak with Sarah here. Welcome to this C2 English vocabulary lesson designed for advanced learners and TOEFL test takers. In today's video, we'll explore literature vocabulary, a set of high-level, precise words that will help you analyze, discuss, and critique books, poetry, and plays with confidence. I'll give you definitions, example sentences, and tips on how to use these words in both academic and real-world contexts. Today's theme is literature vocabulary, essential terms for talking about stories and written works at an advanced level. 1. Protagonist, the main character in a story. The protagonist is usually the character whose goals and conflicts drive the narrative forward. Understanding the protagonist's motivations helps readers connect emotionally with the story. For example, the protagonist's journey reflects the author's own struggles with identity. 2. Antagonist, the character or force opposing the protagonist. The antagonist creates obstacles and challenges for the protagonist, often causing conflict that fuels the plot. This opposition adds tension and depth to the story's development. For example, the antagonist's actions create tension throughout the novel and drive the plot forward. 3. Allusion, a reference to another work, event, or person. Allusions enrich a text by linking it to other well-known stories, historical moments, or cultural ideas, adding layers of meaning. They often invite readers to make connections beyond the immediate story. For example, the poem contains an allusion to Shakespeare's Hamlet, adding depth for readers familiar with the play. 4. Juxtaposition, placing contrasting ideas, characters, or settings close together for effect. Juxtaposition highlights differences by putting opposing elements side by side, which can create irony or emphasize themes. Writers use this technique to deepen the reader's understanding of complex issues. For example, the author uses juxtaposition between the wealthy and the poor to highlight class differences. 5. Allegory, a story with a deeper symbolic meaning. An allegory operates on two levels, the surface narrative and a hidden, often moral or political message. Readers interpret the characters and events as symbols representing larger ideas. For example, Animal Farm is an allegory for political revolution and the dangers of totalitarianism. 6. Foreshadowing, a hint or clue about what will happen later in the story. Foreshadowing builds suspense by preparing readers for future events without revealing too much. This technique keeps readers engaged and creates a sense of inevitability. For example, the dark clouds foreshadow the tragedy that unfolds in the final chapter. 7. Epiphany, a sudden realization or insight by a character. An epiphany often marks a turning point in a story, where the character gains a new understanding that changes their perspective or behavior. It adds emotional depth and complexity to the narrative. For example, during her travels, she had an epiphany about what truly mattered in life. 8. Motif, a recurring element such as an image or phrase that reinforces a theme. Motifs appear repeatedly throughout a work to draw attention to important ideas or emotions. They help unify the text and deepen the meaning of the story. For example, the motif of broken glass appears throughout the novel, symbolizing fragility. 9. Tone, the author's attitude towards the subject or audience. Tone reflects how the writer feels about the topic, which can be serious, sarcastic, hopeful, or humorous. Recognizing tone helps readers interpret the author's purpose and emotional stance. For example, the tone of the essay is both critical and humorous. 10. Mood, the emotional atmosphere of a work. Mood is the feeling or vibe that the text creates for the reader, such as suspense, joy, or melancholy. Writers use descriptive language and setting to establish mood and influence the reader's experience. Example: the eerie mood is created through dim lighting and whispered dialogue. 11. Metaphor: a comparison between two unlike things without using like or as. Metaphors create vivid imagery by describing one thing as if it were another, which can reveal new meanings or emotions. They are powerful tools for expressive and poetic writing. For example, the city was a jungle full of danger and opportunity. That's a metaphor. 12. Simile: a comparison using like or as. Similes help readers understand ideas by comparing them to something familiar. They add color and creativity to descriptions, making language more engaging. For example, her smile was as bright as the morning sun. That's a simile. 13. Irony: a contrast between expectation and reality. Irony often highlights contradictions or surprising outcomes that can be humorous or tragic. Recognizing irony enhances the appreciation of a text's complexity and message. For example, it's ironic that the fire station burned down. 14. Satire: writing that uses humor, irony, or exaggeration to criticize. Satire aims to expose flaws or criticize social and political issues in a way that is both entertaining and thought-provoking. It encourages readers to reflect on real-world problems. For example, the novel is a sharp satire of political corruption. 15. Symbolism: the use of symbols to represent ideas or concepts. Symbols can be objects, characters, or actions that stand for something beyond their literal meaning. Symbolism enriches the text by adding deeper layers of significance. For example, the white dove in the story symbolizes peace. 16. Theme: the central idea or message of a work. The theme is the underlying message or insight about life that the author conveys through the story. Identifying the theme helps readers understand the purpose and meaning of the text. For example, the theme of forgiveness runs throughout the play. 17. Characterization: the way an author develops a character's personality. Characterization can be direct through description or indirect through actions, dialogue, and thoughts. Strong characterization makes characters believable and relatable. For example, through dialogue and action, the author's characterization reveals hidden motives. 18. Narrative voice: the perspective from which the story is told. The narrative voice shapes how readers perceive the story and characters. It can be first person, third person, or even an unreliable narrator, affecting the tone and intimacy of the story. For example, the first-person narrative voice creates intimacy with the reader. 19. Climax: the most intense or important moment in the story. The climax is the turning point where the main conflict reaches its peak, often deciding the outcome. It is usually the most exciting and emotionally charged part of the narrative. For example, the trial scene marks the climax of the novel. Last, we have number 20. This is a French word: denouement, the final resolution or conclusion of a story. Denouement ties up loose ends, answers remaining questions, and shows the consequences of the climax. It provides closure for the reader and completes the narrative arc. For example, the denouement ties up loose ends and reveals the fate of each character. Thank you for joining me for today's C2 vocabulary lesson. Remember, advanced words aren't just for show. They help you express ideas with precision and make a strong impact on exams, presentations, and in professional communication. If you found this helpful, like, comment, and subscribe for more Speak with Sarah.